is just for qualification, like you just have to qualify the coursework, you have to get passing marks. But basically the paper is more practical, like you have to apply the lessons in your daily life throughout your research career, right? As an academic. Yeah. So you just started this journey and you will go a long way. You will become PIs at one point of time. So that time also you have to learn, you have to remember these lessons, right? So we had stopped at, if I remember correctly, we had talked about predatory journals, right? We had talked about predatory journals. We had talked about the Beals list. Just to give a recap of what predatory journals are. These are like probably you would also remember what predatory journals are. What are the predatory journals?
Industrial journals in which the content of in which the publication is not uh,
They're not indexed, probably. They are not peer reviewed. They do not have a rigorous peer review process. They just publish papers to generate revenue, and that they do not have enough academic rigor. They are predating, like they work in a predator prey situation where they may solicit your papers, your good papers, just to publish in their spurious journals. They are spurious journals. Do not have a good reputation. These journals do not have a good reputation. Two sites where you can find the list of predatory journals. That's the Beals list. We have talked about the Beals list. You know, even if you do not remember, I mean, but it's something that you need to be aware of. You don't have to remember it, but when you send your paper for publication, you have to go through this list once, because you will do a great service to yourself if you go through this Beals list and check which journals we should not be publishing in. Okay, because Beals list contains the list of predatory journals, and then you have another site called the Cabell's list. That is another resource that you can go through, right? And many of these predatory journals copy the actual journal, right? They just change the font of the name, or they just add the or some pronoun to the renowned journals, and their websites now look like the original websites. So you just have to be very careful, and you have to do some diligence before sending the paper for publications, right? So it's always a good idea to look for reputed indexing databases like Web of Science, Scopus, or the scientific SCI list, right? Okay, so I hope that is clear to you. है ना? And अपने like in your own specialities, in your own core domains, you should make a listing of reputed journals, historically reputed journals, right? Historically means like those journals which are known to be reputed in your areas. Some journals come up, journals are mushrooming these days, right? They are like, left, right, and center. People are flouting uh, journals, new journals with the old names or something like that. So better to be watchful, better to do some diligence, spend some time before sending the paper to the publishing house, right? So 3-4 दिन spend करके आप उसको प्रॉपरली भेजें. इतना जल्दबाजी में पेपर भेजने की जरूरत नहीं है. We know that we mostly are in a hurry. I don't know why we are in a hurry. We have to get out of this hustle business, because when we do things a bit intentionally, we tend to make less mistakes, right? So these steps are the places where you have to spend some time. All right, so we'll take the question later on. You keep your question, you can write it or keep it in your mind. So we had moved on to retraction watch. Now, I think I have talked about retraction watch also in detail. So retraction watch is a website It's a database, rather a website. I'm saying that it's a website because we go to Retraction Watch and we get the data related to how many papers have been retracted. And I was not able to add that slide, but I may be able to send it in email to you, or you may be able to find it on your own. So statistics, current statistics of retraction suggests that India and China are leading in the maximum number of retractions, India and China, because we are publishing a lot of papers. We are highly prolific publishing. We are publishing a lot of papers, India, China, and Middle East. So three of these countries have maximum number of retractions, and there was this report where papers from institutes from Uzbekistan were also found to be part of the retraction list. So retraction database tells you about the papers which have been retracted from the scientific literature because of spurious results, because of not so integral processes employed during generation of data or analysis of data. We had talked about this, why the paper was retracted. We had talked about where an identity was identity case of identity theft had happened, where this author found that her name has been used in multiple papers. So it's not good for the author also, because the author is also losing reputation. But here, I mean, the author is innocent because she was not aware that her name has been used in the papers, right? So you also have to, be in a habit of googling yourself. Okay, not now when you become very like when you publish a lot. So you have to be in a habit of finding your name, because you need to find out whether your name has been used in these kind of publications. All right. So this is the link where you can find out the journal. So I mean, it's not necessary to every time visit Retraction Watch, but while you are designing your work, right? While you are designing your work, it's a good idea to find whether any kind of retractions have happened in your area of research, right? We are design कर रहे हैं ना work. So make sure whatever papers you are citing, find out whether they are a part of retraction watch or not. You may be, whenever you design your work, have you started designing your work? Probably some of you might have started designing your work, or at least thinking about what your work is going to be. So you must be reading some papers. We don't read hundreds of papers. We have, a bunch of 30 or 40 papers, which we make them as the base of our result. So at least check whether any paper from those 30, 40 papers are in the retraction watch, because you don't want to make a paper, any such spurious paper as the base for your study. All right? Is it clear? So how is retraction watch useful to you right now? Right now means you're beginning your career. So why is it useful for you?
Gives us a platform to identify whether you have to take such papers or not for our.
Whether you have to base your study on a particular paper, because if it may not be a part of retraction watch right now, but if it's already a part of retraction watch right now, you don't have to take that as a part of your study. Okay. And one more thing, like, sometimes the authors also feature. Sometimes the authors feature frequently in retraction database. So you don't want to cite or use those papers from those authors too. Right? Which authors common here in whose papers have commonly appeared in retraction watch. You don't want to use their papers as the base for your study. All right. So do you understand why it's important to know about this website? Yes. People from other departments, English, humanities, right? Girls, be a bit vocal So I want to know, like, is the energy level high or not? ठंडा है ना बहुत सो फ्रीज हो गया होगा दिमाग सो उसको थोड़ा सा एनर्जी लाइए एटीपी जलाइए थोड़ा सा जलाइए एज इन यूटिलाइज इट राइट ऑलराइट so I had also gone through one very interesting study recently. I sent that study to you. Probably I have added it in the link I have added in the course content. So in that a paper which a particular group had presented in a conference. Okay? In conferences, generally we present work which is under process. We don't present as in like make a presentation, oral presentation or a poster presentation. आप चाहेंगे ना conference में कभी conference related to your domain. You will go there and present your work. The idea is to make everybody aware of what you're doing and to get some good ideas, good feedback about your work, right? Isn't it? So this group in some institution, I don't remember the institution, so let's not focus a lot on that institution. Let's focus about the case study. Now this group had presented their work in a conference. So suddenly, one year later, they found that the entire story has been published as it is under the authorship of some other people. Okay, so this is a total case of falsification, plagiarism, identity theft, without giving due credit. Right? When we present work in the conferences, that is all, only to get ideas, so that we can elaborate on those ideas, not to embezzle somebody else's idea. Right? And they could have the other group could have worked on the same idea, but they could have utilized some other strategies or given some other data, but the data was also found to be same. So it's a case of irresponsible conduct of research. Okay. So the first group who had presented have started proceedings with retraction watch to get the paper retracted. जो सेकेंड ग्रुप ने चुरा के पेपर छापा है उसको रिट्रैक्ट करने के लिए पहले वाले ग्रुप ने अपना पूरे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन सबमिट किया हुआ है एंड द process has started for retraction of the second paper. Okay, so never do that. When you go to conferences, get ideas, but do not try to steal the steal the idea. Do not try to use their data because they are presenting the data in a in a trustworthy atmosphere, right? So that is why the word trust means a lot. Okay, so maybe the entire world cannot be trusted, but that is not like that. I mean, we are living in a world and we are surviving, so that means people are good essentially, है ना? तो आप भी goodness में ही help करें सभी को बिकॉज करियर चौपट हो जाएगा उन लोगों ने तो पेपर छाप लिया बट हाउ डज इट मैटर एट द एंड ऑफ देयर 40-year career or 10-year-old career they are having the black spot in the form of a retraction, right? So then we move on to some pre-publication. Right. This is another resource that you should be aware of. Biox RX IV. It's a preprint server for biology. It's a preprint server for biology. It's just an example of preprint server. So nowadays we have preprint servers for publications. This means that before your paper goes for review or you submit it to any publication house, you can upload your paper on the preprint servers to get feedback on your paper, right? So Research Square is one such. Research Square is one such preprint server. This particular server is for biology, but similarly, Research Square is another server which can be utilized by people of all domains, okay? All domains. And then Springer and Elsevier have their own preprint preprint servers. So if you have subscription to the premium services, you can upload your unpublished complete story on the preprint server and you can get feedback. And it's just like a publication. It's just to proliferate the impact of your work, right? Outreach of your work. Okay. And again, if somebody steals your work, they will be liable for action. Okay. So it's a preprint server for biology. Then we have some servers for post-publication work, right? Post-publication. So do you understand pre-publication, post-publication, retraction? Do you understand these terms? What is preprint? Before you publish your data, right? And once your data, your paper has been peer reviewed and found to be suitable for publication after peer review, it will be published in a journal wherever you have sent it, right? Then we have another server called as PubPeer. PubPeer, this one. PubPeer is a website that allows users to discuss and review scientific research after publication. So this is a post-publication peer review, right? Even if your paper has already been published, all right? So let's assume that your paper has already been published. So you would assume that now my paper is not up for scrutiny. It's not like that, all right? है ना? यही सोचते हैं हम? नहीं? क्या सोचते हैं? सेफ है. नहीं हमारा पेपर peer review हो गया है. Like the esteemed reviewers must have spent time on our paper and must have found out the flaws and told us that this needs to be corrected. And after that, we will, the comments that we get, that is for improving our paper, right? So once our paper is published, it's still up for scrutiny because there is a group of, again, this is a group of, it's a citizen-led group, right? It's a group that's led by researchers and their job, they have taken this job upon themselves. It's not a job kind of a thing. They don't get paid for it, right? They have taken up this job to scrutinize the literature for poor studies, okay? Poor studies as in where the result is not, is not matching with the observations are not matching with the result. The conclusions that have been drawn are very extrapolated. Like sometimes researchers have a tendency to extrapolate the conclusions, right? So you don't have to extrapolate your conclusions. You have to make conclusions based upon your result. So whatever result you're getting, you have to make conclusions accordingly. You don't have to exaggerate, like we'll come up with a cure for XYZ disease. Whatever your result is suggesting, say that, okay, my result is suggesting that this much is the increase, or people going to school are less stressed or more stressed, right? Okay, so our observations have to be, our conclusions have to be adherent to what our results are. So this PubPeer thing, they are scrutinizing studies to check whether the studies are uh, prudent enough and whether they have been done responsibly. So even after 10, 40, 10, 20, 40 years after the paper has been published, the paper can come up for scrutiny and they just put the comments on in their comment box, or if they find that a paper is totally off, they may also flag it to retraction watch. Okay, so a few years back, I guess during COVID time, we had a list that was published in the newspaper Hindu. So they had flagged lot of studies that were coming out from many labs within the country and in reputed labs across the globe, which had been flagged in PubPeer. So you can go to PubPeer to check whether the studies that you're quoting, they are good enough or not, right? So you have a lot of resources, like you're lucky enough, right? You live in the era of AI, so AI is doing thinking for you, but critically you have to evaluate what AI is giving you, है ना? So आपका तो काम easy है, but अगर आप उतना भी time spend नहीं करेंगे critically evaluate करने के लिए कि ये आपके study का part होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए, then I think there is no, I'm sorry to say that you don't have any business in being in uh, this field. Doctorate means something, right? Doctorate means that you are passionate about creating new knowledge, right? So due diligence is necessary. You have to consider yourself lucky that you have all the resources available with you. You don't have to run around. Everything is at the click of your fingers, right? We have a lot of new faces today. Welcome in the new year. So since we are having an ethics class, I would want everybody to be honest about their attendance. At least start from this class itself. Don't mark attendance of people who are not here. So ethics का मैंने क्लास के पहले ही बोला था कि ethics का पेपर आपको पास करना है, बट ये प्रैक्टिकल इसके लेसन्स लेने हैं आपको. अगर आप एथिक्स क्लास के बाद ही पहला अनएथिकल काम ये करेंगे कि पूरे क्लास का अटेंडेंस लगाएंगे, so that is very that means the class has failed. We have not been able to put across our point. So if you're making that unethical gesture, this small unethical gesture right now, you are capable of making unethical, practicing unethical practices later on also. Papier is a website that allows users to discuss and review scientific research after publication. So the difference between Biox, RX, and Papier is that this is a preprint server, preprint server for biology, but Research Square is a preprint server for all sciences, all social sciences, and whatever contributes to research. Papier is post-publication peer review. The site has served as a whistleblowing platform. It has served as a whistleblowing platform because they flag papers. They do their work honestly, and they flag out the papers for spurious data. So it has served as a whistleblowing platform in that it highlighted shortcomings in several high-profile papers. These were papers like I was talking about a study that was published in Hindu, and maybe after that many other studies came. So most of the papers were in high-profile journals like Nature, Science, and many other high-profile journals where we tend to, trust all the data, right? So this was a very good service that this team had done. In some cases, leading to retractions and to accusations of scientific fraud, as noted by Retraction Watch. Contrary to most platforms, it allows anonymous post-publication commenting. Anonymous. So earlier, if you remember your lessons correctly, like if a paper is flagged, anonymous reporting is not allowed, right? So if we have to initiate a proceeding against any particular set of authors, or if the institution has to initiate any kind of proceedings because of scientific fraud, they will not initiate proceedings on anonymous complaints, right? So that one is clear. इंस्टीट्यूशन को अगर कोई प्रोसीडिंग शुरू करनी होगी तो हमेशा नेम्ड कंप्लेंट्स पे करेंगे, राइट? But post-publication PubPeer, they allow anonymous commenting also, right? So is it, do you anticipate any problem with this kind of reporting? Anonymous reporting, do you anticipate any kind of problem? Think about it. Maybe you will come up with an answer later on, right? Okay? Are you able to think today? So yeah, it allows anonymous post-publication commenting, a controversial feature, which is the main factor for its success. success. So it may be Papier earlier was prone to trolling. Okay, it was prone to trolling because if I do not get along with you, I may use the Papier platform to malign you, right? So this feature has been fixed now. Okay, now they have fixed it and made it more stringent. Even if the commenting is anonymous, but you can track those people who had made the comment. They can track, so they can find out who has made the comment. So trolling has stopped, right? So this was the controversial feature which was associated with Papier because anonymous commenting could be done. All right. So क्या इसका like what is the take home message when you see these preprint servers and post publication servers? What is the take home message? Is there any take home message? What is it?
Ethical and best practices.
You should practice best practices and ethical practices so that you're not scared throughout your life. Okay, there's a syndrome called imposter syndrome. Okay, all right. So that imposter syndrome will always make you shaky about because you have done something wrong, right? Even if the world does not know, you know that you have reported something which was not supposed to be reported, right? So you'll always be in that fear, okay? And you'll never trust your own data. So it's these two servers are helping us build this practice of best practice of ethical reporting. So this is just a case study. I think we had gone through it. Had we, I don't remember, but you can go through this. This gentleman, Jan Sean, lost his PhD because it seemed that he had faked data in at least 70 papers. Okay, so the PhD was lost. The tenure track that the gentleman had acquired, faculty position मिली थी, वो भी चली गई थी. तो चली जा सकती है पेनल्टीज आपको हमने पहले ही बता दिए हैं सो पेनल्टीज वाला पेज आप प्रिंट आउट करके अपने सामने रख दीजिएगा जब भी आप अपना रिसर्च वर्क शुरू करेंगे है ना so it's better to if you feel that I'm not able to practice what has been taught to me so at least keep the penalties checklist handy so that it will bring you back to the real world okay. Then this very famous stem cell case. The stem cell case we do not know. I mean, it was very difficult to understand their situation. I mean, we still feel that probably they were unaware of the ethical practices, but it's very unrealistic uh, because they seem to be well trained. The group seemed to be well trained. So this is a very landmark case because it was the first study where stem cells biology was started. Means they had used cloned embryos for producing stem cells, and stem cell therapy is generally used for generating new cells for treatment. Okay. So we don't want to go into the science of this particular case, but it seems that in 2005, 2006, it was a landmark discovery. But the problem with the study was that they had not saved any of those things. They had not saved what they were claiming to generate. Okay. So data reporting, data management is very, very important. Whatever you're claiming as part of your data has to be documented well, right? Documented as in, if you're claiming that you have generated a new strain, you should at least have the strain in your repository, right? Strain, do you understand a strain? A bacterial strain, for example. Or if you have generated a new method, right? So you need to have the primary data related to that method. You need to have that data handy. Raw data होना चाहिए. इनके साथ प्रॉब्लम ये हुई कि इन्होंने जो भी क्लेम किया था, they did not have any documentation They had not recorded the data properly, right? And the entire study was retracted. And the group was maligned left, right, and center, and it brought disrepute to the institution also. Korea ki puri science trust. We could not. The world started not trusting science that was coming out of South Korea because of this case. We still, in science, we still believe that probably they had achieved what they were claiming to have. But they were careless. They did not record the data properly, and they did not save the cells. सेल्स को सेव करना चाहिए था ना. अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि क्लोन सेल्स बनाए हमने तो आपको सेव करना पड़ेगा. आप अगर कह रहे हैं कि हम कोई फोटोवोल्टेइक cell बना रहे हैं, right? Or we are creating a solar cell, for example. Your prototype needs to be there, isn't it? Well documented. The steps need to be well documented. If you have generated a solar cell on the first day, probably you just assembled it. So document it. You have the tools. Now you have the geotagging tools. You have copies. Mark the date on that copies. Get it signed by your PI, right? So this entire study was retracted. Woo Suk, a professor at Seoul National University, published 2 papers in the journal Science. It's a high-profile journal, let me tell you. And there's a huge, rigorous process after which the studies are published, right? तो इसमें साइंस का भी रेपुटेशन काफी खराब हो गया. द जर्नल साइंस का रेपुटेशन खराब हो गया because it seemed कि they did not do enough to check whether the data was generated properly or not, right? They should have asked for the cell lines. They should have asked for the proof of cell lines, right? Because it was a landmark discovery at that point of time. So coming back to 2025, 2005 की study है, बहुत high profile study थी. So 2025 में, now we live in a world where we are asked for raw data for every piece of data that we are presenting. If we are claiming we have done the experiment 3 times, we have to present work related to 3 different time points, right? So now what people sometimes do, like, sometimes, I don't know, I'm just assuming they are doing that. So if the pictures are from from the same experiment, so they just chop down the picture, show different fields from the picture, and present them as 3 different time points, right? But this practice should not be done because now the softwares are so sophisticated that they'll be able to stitch together the picture. If you're cutting one picture or some other picture from the same day and stitching it, presenting as 3 different time points, the reviewers will be able to stitch the picture together and they'll come up with the proof that this was a part of the same picture. So cut paste nahi karna hai, okay? Avoid that. 3 बार अगर experiment करना है तो 3 बार तो करना ही है ना. Triplicate में आप अगर ऑब्जर्वेशन ले रहे हैं ह्यूमैनिटीज वाले तो आप तो एटलीस्ट ये मेक श्योर करेंगे ना कि उतना आपका सैंपल नंबर ज्यादा हो, सो दैट इट अपीयर्स दैट इट्स मेजॉरिटी व्यू व्हाटएवर यू आर क्लेमिंग, ओके, राइट? सो बी अवेयर दैट द टूल्स, मुझे आपको क्या अवेयरनेस देनी है, एआई वर्ल्ड में रह रहे हैं आप, है ना? So AI world में there's a lot of sophistication where the patterns can be matched. So it's just just 5 minutes job. So they'll be able to find out whether you have done the experiment thrice or you have stitched 3 different parts of the same picture of the same day and presenting as 3 different pictures, right? So allegations were raised by a co-worker. ये भी एक problem था, whistleblowing की वजह से हुआ था. That paper was based on fabricated data. Investigations proved misconduct. The papers were retracted. So investigations proved misconduct because they were not able to present the raw data. They were not able to present the cell line. They said that they have not. I mean, it was a bizarre case actually. Not even a master's student will be able to give this explanation. They told the reviewers that they did not store the cell lines. Okay, how can you not store the cell lines if you are reporting a new cell line? How can you not have it in your repository? If you are reporting a new strain, supposedly a plastic burning strain, or a new strain of a clinical strain, for example, uh, antimicrobial resistant strain. So how can you not store that strain, or have it in some repository? Repository is a bank. Repository is kind of a bank where you deposit your new, like you deposit your data in the PubMed. Similarly, new strains, new DNA sequences, new cell lines, they have to be deposited in a bank. Okay, that is a repository. Okay, आपका क्या repository है? आपका जो भी findings होंगे, they will go into PubMed and they will be available to everybody, right? So you cannot say I did not have this data. You have to document your data well. So they lost everything, reputation, everything. Oh, and the gentleman was sentenced to term in jail because South Korea में ना easily नहीं माना जाता है ये सब. South Korea is still democratic as compared to North Korea, right? So South Korea में they send him to jail because he had, according to them, he had brought a lot of disrepute, and he had brought global disrepute. So this is a case of breach of trust. So what did they do? Again, very highly prolific lab, very well-cited lab, Bell Laboratories. People from physics must be aware of material science and physics, maths. They must be aware of Bell Laboratories and the reputation of Bell Laboratories. So they are the golden standard in material sciences and physics, quantum computing. So they, in their case, lot of papers that Sean, the earlier Sean, पहला case study मैंने आपको बताया था कि Sean का PhD रिट्रैक्ट हुआ, डीरेजिस्टर हो गए, उनकी PhD का जितना भी वर्क था वो रिट्रैक्ट हुआ because he had fabricated data for 17 papers. Okay, so 17 papers he published from Bell Laboratories. All right. So they publish from Bell Laboratories. Sometimes it also happens that reviewers may become biased. When you see a paper from Bell Laboratories, you automatically assume that they might, the paper must have come through lot of academic rigor. So that is the trust that Bell Laboratories had, like people had in data that was coming out from Bell Laboratories. So this gentleman, Sean, kind of exploited that situation, fabricated data for 17 papers, right? And then got a tenured track position in a very good institution, right? Got a assistant professor or whatever entry level position. हुआ केस आ गया सामने, रिट्रैक्शन हो गए पेपर के, जितने भी PhD मिला था उनको इनके 17 पेपर्स पे उनकी PhD चली गई, एंड जो उनको पोजीशन मिली थी वो भी चली गई, एंड बेल लेबोरेटरीज का के ऊपर से ट्रस्ट चला गया सभी का, राइट? सो दिस इज अ केस, शॉन्स केस इज अ case of multiple levels of scientific fraud: fabrication, falsification, irresponsible conduct of research, breach of trust. Well, laboratories lost their reputation, right? So if anyone indulges in scientific fraud, they are breaching the trust of the institution, the trust that has been created in the processes of the institution, right? It only takes one instance, isn't it? It only takes one instance to lose the trust, right? Okay, one exercise I'll give it to you today. This is for your own good. I mean, I guess you will find time for this exercise. It's for your own good. Do a simple search on LinkedIn or Indian Research Watch. There's a there's a whistleblowing platform in India also, like Retraction Watch. It's called as Indian Research Watch. IRW. Indian Research Watch. Just do a quick search and find out the profile of institutions where we are having maximum number of retractions in India. So it will give you an idea about what not to do. Indian Research Watch, IRW. Go to their website. The founder is Achal Agarwal. He has been nominated as the top 10 influential persons by Nature. Okay, Nature, the journal, right? So go to this website, find out what is the profile of these spurious institutions where we are getting the maximum number of retractions in India, and you'll get a lesson on what not to do during your PhD and your academic career later on. How many of you are teachers, like already working, so your responsibilities are higher. Everybody has responsibility because you are getting trained to be professors later on, right? Okay. So let's go to case study two. So this gentleman, let's suppose that the gentleman X has to submit a grant, right? Has to submit a research grant, right? So obviously the gentleman or the lady would require a lot of data as a supporting data to prove as a proof of concept. Because if we are applying for a research grant for funding, we have to make sure that the funding agency understands that we are capable of doing this kind of work, right? So we would be supporting our claims with the help of data, right? So what happened? Uh, this gentleman had a major grant coming to an end, right? So the last series of experiments his graduate student ran clearly linked the gene that they are studying to a particular type of cancer, right? His postdoc's work on the proteins associated with this gene could pave the way for possible cures. With these results in hand, he is finally ready to make a strong case for continued support and happily his pending promotion. So, I mean, the gentleman Sanjay is in a major fix, right? He has a promotion coming up. Let's not, I mean, name this gentleman X, okay? He has a research grant which is coming to an end, right? So he or she has to write subsequent grants based on the previous results, solid proof of concept, has a promotion pending, right? Graduate student has generated the data about the preliminary data. Postdoc has also generated data, right? A week later, his optimism starts to fade. As might have been expected, his department chair was delighted with his progress okay, but then suggested that a first paper announcing the results came out under her name to give it broader circulation, right? What is the study? What is happening here? Promotion is due, right? Okay, promotion is due. The head of the department is saying, okay, is suggesting to include her name as her or his name because it will facilitate broader circulation of the paper, right? So, how many types of misconduct do you think is happening in this study? In this case study, the pressure is there, right? The PI is under pressure. So the PI would want to pressurize the students to give any kind of data. I mean, there is a situation, temptation is there, right? The HOD or the person who is powerful or is this fellow is reporting to is suggesting to include the name. So what should he do? What can he do and what should he do? You tell me. It's open for debate. क्या करना चाहिए या क्या कर सकते हैं प्रेशर वाली सिचुएशन, आप इस सिचुएशन में होंगे तो क्या करेंगे, क्या मतलब what will be the guiding principle for you? या इस सिचुएशन से बचने के लिए क्या करेंगे? सिचुएशन समझ रहे हैं? हाई प्रेशर सिचुएशन है एक पर्सन के लिए, डेटा पे सारा निर्भर है, राइट? डेटा अभी तक तो हमने कहीं पर नहीं देखा कि फॉल्सिफाई हुआ है, अभी तो इन्होंने लेट्स अज्यूम कि राइट प्रैक्टिसेस से निकालना है डेटा, ओके, लेकिन पेपर भेजना है, ग्रांट भेजनी है, पावरफुल पर्सन कह रहे हैं मेरा नाम डाल दो, ब्रॉडर सर्कुलेशन हो जाएगा, सो क्या करना चाहिए? आप होते तो क्या करते बताइए? What would be the guiding principle? I mean, it's a real life situation. Anybody can come across this situation. What would you do? What would be the guiding principle for you? So remember, I'll give you 5 minutes. Recall all your lessons and tell me what you would do.
You can go and ask for such new ideas or any contribution which the chairperson can make to our study. Then easily you can add the name of.
Okay. So their contribution has to be substantial, right? So obviously we cannot give gift authorship. If we had included, so this is a resolution of the conflict, right? This is a, what do you say, uh, appropriate resolution of the conflict. We would ask the person to make some substantial contribution and document it, right? And अगर आप पहले लेसन में जाएंगे, so authorship का मैंने पहले ही बताया था कि make an agreement, right? Have a responsible kind of agreement. Okay, this fellow is going to be the part of the authorship, right? Okay. So one resolution can be to say himself. One resolution can be okay. The person can be a part, but then intellectual contribution has to be there. And if there is no intellectual contribution, you don't have to entertain these claims, right? Under any circumstances, because you are indulging in malpractice. And if your paper comes under scrutiny, the person also comes under scrutiny, right? So gift authorship का इधर पेनाल्टी है, अगर आप यूज कर लेते विदाउट एनी इंटेलेक्चुअल कंट्रीब्यूशन, यहाँ पर गिफ्ट ऑथरशिप आप दे रहे थे, वो वाला साइंटिफिक फ्रॉड हो रहा था, राइट? ओके, एंड फॉल्स इस प्रेशर के अंडर इफ अच्छा इनके साथ तो इतना प्रॉब्लम हो गया है ना, लड़ने लग गए, ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट एंड पोस्ट डॉक आल्सो स्टार्टेड फाइटिंग, because this is a very problematic situation for the PI. ग्रांट भी जानी है उसी डेटा के बेस पे जिसमें वो ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट एंड पोस्ट डॉक काम कर रहे हैं, अब दोनों लड़ रहे हैं, क्या कह रहे हैं? Meanwhile, this postdoc and graduate student have gotten into a heated debate about the order of their names, how they should appear in the paper, right? The university's public affairs office has asked for a summary of the results for a press release. Okay? यूनिवर्सिटी कह रही कि हम आपका डेटा बड़ा अच्छा है तो हमें अपना बताइए क्या आपका डेटा है. The technology transfer has called Delhi him to hold all publications unless they can evaluate the commercial potential of his work. So this is a situation which is quite grave for this PI. I hope nobody, none of the PIs ever come across such situations, but these are common situations. So that is why this case study is being discussed here, right? Okay, so the postdoc and graduate student in a heated debate. They would not have been in a heated debate if they had been made aware of their positions right in the beginning, right? So this situation would not have arisen. So you have, I mean, your PI also has to be aware of how to resolve these situations. So this situation would not have arisen if we had agreement on how the authorship would be, right? Okay, and regarding the pressure situation, obviously, if the proof of concept is generated in a good manner, so then there's no problem. And under the pressure situation, if the PI comes as into the temptation, he might be tempted to use fabricated data. So that's again a fraudulent situation. ठीक है? So ये case study अपने mind में रख लीजिएगा. Okay? So go through such case studies. Sometimes we also, give you an exercise on different kinds of case studies. All right, where you might be asked to identify the type of fraud that might have happened. You might be asked to tell us what the penalties for that fraud would be if the fraud had been committed. So try to read the context properly in case studies and then figure out on your own based upon whatever you had studied. Identify the fraud that might have been committed. Identify, tell us the remedies to avoid such situations, and you should also be aware of the penalties. Okay, so this is just an exercise to make you aware that how the questions can be framed. I mean, don't expect a direct question. You are thinking professionals, right? So you would be expected to use your own understanding, keeping in mind all the learnings that have happened here, right? This you can go read on your own. Again, fabrication का case है, go through it. These are some suggested readings. I have added some more suggested readings in the material that I have shared with Dr. Kazaki. So you can have access to that, and you are free to use your own resources. Right? By now you should be able to uh, find out relevant material on your own also. This is the website link for retraction watch. We have talked about it. You know? So it's a website that keeps an eye on scientific integrity and helps draw. We go through, we talk about a lot about retraction watch, but when I give this question sometimes in the question paper, I get very bizarre answers, like as if the students were not listening. All right. So even if you are not listening, you should at least appear in the exam with full preparation. Okay. So I hope this time we'll not get such bizarre answers. Maybe you are not the ones who are attending the classes. Maybe those bizarre answers are coming from people who are not attending the classes. But at least they will be expected of using some resources before appearing in an example, in an exam. So always make it a rule. When you are appearing in an interview, be prepared. At least know what you are interviewing for. So the mission of this parent organization, the Center for Scientific Integrity, is to promote transparency and integrity in science and scientific publication and to disseminate best practices, right? So our aim is to disseminate best practices, make it a practice, make best practices as the culture. That is our aim. The aim of this entire course is that. The center, which has been funded by the MacArthur and Arnold Public Foundations and the Hemsley Trust, is building a comprehensive and freely available database of retractions for scientists, scholars, and journalists. And whenever you have your own IDs, Scopus IDs, or if you follow these scholarly pages, you will get an alert for any retraction in your field. Okay? Because obviously आप हर paper को तो नहीं follow करेंगे. You will always read papers related to your own core domain, so you will get alerts for retractions happening in your field. This is another another case study. Conflict of interest. This is a case study for conflict of interest. So go through these studies and identify on your own What kind of misconduct is there? Here, clearly, it was a case of conflict of interest because the peer reviewer was the wife of the author, right? They were probably in the same field, right? So they suggest, I mean, person X suggested person Y as the peer reviewer, and both were related. So it's not like we cannot peer review each other's papers, right? But we have to make the disclosure. Here, disclosure of conflict of interest is very important. So this case study is talking about conflict of interest. What kind of conflict of interest is it? What kind is it? Personal, professional, financial, what? Personal, right? So it's not unethical to peer review each other's papers, but what is unethical that they did not disclose the relationship, right? It can be a father-son duo. It can be a father-daughter duo, right? So if we can avoid this situation, we should avoid. All right? Okay. So it's just, I mean, it's perception. It's total perception, isn't it? Like if I have to grade my daughter's paper, so I may not be objective enough. Even if I am, superhuman and I am objective enough, but who's going to trust that? So it's better to avoid that kind of situation, right? So please go through these case studies, not only these, some more, and try to identify, use your critical thinking to identify what kind of frauds have happened, right? ठीक है ये exercises पे focus करिए because questions इसी तरह के frame करे जाते हैं you may not be asked about types of frauds but you may be given a situation where you have to identify the type of fraud right so this fraudulent it is a case of fraudulent peer review right and non-disclosure of conflict of interest. I think we have gone in detail. There is a chart. Go through those charts carefully. Those charts, do you remember? Where we had those action taken and all that stuff, right? So go through those charts, you will get a better idea of what to do and what not to do if you are interested. So you better be interested because in the interest of science and trust in science, you better be interested. Okay, then we have another type of fraud, irresponsible conduct of research. It's called a citation stacking. Okay, citation stacking. The term is citation stacking. Do you understand citation? What do you understand? Where you refer to a particular paper, so you are citing that paper. You're giving us a citation to the primary source where you refer to this book, source, right? So referring to a source is not an unethical practice, right? Okay, but citing a paper because the paper was published by your friend, right? That is unethical. Citing the paper which does not have any relationship with your relationship with the results or the hypothesis, that is an unethical practice. And the practice, so Nature Journal retracts two papers after being caught manipulating citations. They reveal the hidden workings of a scheme referred to as citation stacking that has landed a number of journals in trouble. So let's talk about the case study. So Mauricio Roche thought that he had spotted an easy way to raise the profile. Okay, just raise the profile of Brazilian journals. Okay, they were Brazilian authors, so they wanted to raise the profile of their journals. I mean, let's not target a particular country. It's just a case study. Many other people might be doing this, but this came up as a case study in Research Watch, so that is why I'm citing it. So what happened? They wanted to raise the profile. So he and several other editors published articles containing hundreds of references to papers in each other's journals. Right? So when what was happening was that when the manuscripts were going for peer review, after peer review they were suggesting them to use XYZ papers in the references. Okay, समझ रहे हो? हमने पेपर भेजा कमेंट्स के लिए, कमेंट्स में हमारी साइंटिफिक स्टडी के ऊपर कमेंट्स आए एंड इन एडिशन टू दैट दे टोल्ड अस कि ओके ऐड three more references. They were not part of your initial study. So the new papers that were suggested were to raise the profile, they actually forced us to cite the asking means the papers that they had gone for peer review. They forced them to cite those three papers. And when those three papers would get cited, obviously the author would get high citations. The profile of the journal would go up. Impact factor is linked to citations, right? So this was a mutual kind of a scheme where I was asking, I got me, somebody was asking you to cite your paper, I was citing your paper, you were citing my paper, and in the process, we were raising our own citations. So this practice is a unethical practice, and the practice is called citation stacking. Okay. So what kind of misconduct is happening in this case study? Citation stacking. We are stacking up the citations. So wherever you see these high profile authors, so you have to be very vigilant about how the citations have come up. So one way of getting high citations is that the study is landmark. People agree with your results and they are citing your paper. They are using your paper as a reference. That is the organic way of getting citations, right? एंड उसका भी एक रेट होता है, हर एक चीज का रेट है ना, हमारे सेल्स में भी डिविजन का रेट है, राइट? हमारी ग्रोथ का भी एक रेट है, कंट्री के जीडीपी का ग्रोथ रेट एक पैटर्न फॉलो करता है. These citations do not, follow any pattern. So you can figure out that the system is rigged, right? Okay. So if somebody was getting cited 10 times a year, if that fellow or the PI starts getting cited 100 times a year, so you would feel something is off, right? So this is again a new practice. People have been indulging in this kind of practice, right? And whenever you see a highly cited author, do not take it on face value. Okay, see what is going on, right? Okay, see what is going on. So a highly cited paper may always not be a, I mean, I'm not saying that this is the case, but you have to be careful. Highly cited paper may not always be a case of a good study. Okay, it may be the citations may be part of this citation stacking, right, procedure. Fine. So use your brain. That is why it has been given to us, right? Use it effectively, critically analyze what you're doing. Fine. Is it clear? So will you be able to identify the types of misconduct in every kind of case study? I think you will be, at least the cohort that is sitting here and listening carefully. And even if you are not listening carefully, you are capable of reading, you're capable of attempting things, you are budding researchers, so you have to definite. Okay? Enough? Do you agree with me? कि दुखी हो रहे हो आज लास्ट क्लास है सो लेट मी हैव अ फील्ड डे right? So with no offense to the Brazilian group, I mean it's a common practice, happens in every country. Nobody can claim to be a saint. Go through the activities, attempt these activities, and then send the response through mail to me. इसको पढ़ेंगे तो आपको ज़्यादा एफर्ट नहीं लगानी पड़ेगी, बट एफर्ट से डरेगा नहीं. Okay. Now you have signed up, when you have joined the doctoral program, you have signed up for putting in a lot of effort, sincere effort. So don't run away from that sincere effort. If you think that नहीं हो पाएगा, ऐसा नहीं है, हो पाएगा आपसे. आपने लिया है ना पहला step. So just sustain that interest, right? Sustain that passion. And if you're not, if you think that you're not cut out for this kind of work, reevaluate your interest. Okay, it's not to discourage you. I'm just giving you a reality check. But since you have taken the first step, I think you should take it to the end happily, without thinking that it's some kind of a burden that has been put on your heads. Don't take it as a burden. Enjoy this journey. Then only you will enjoy training others, right? है ना? So passionately अपना PhD जर्नी कंटिन्यू करिए. आप किसी दिन कम टाइम दे पाएंगे, किसी दिन ज़्यादा टाइम दे पाएंगे, किसी दिन कोई टाइम नहीं दे पाएंगे. It doesn't matter. Culminate this journey in a fruitful result and in an ethical manner, right? Okay, this is a movie that you can watch just to get an idea of how whatever we have studied is relevant to you. And I would also suggest one series on OTT platform, the Pharma. Okay, Pharma. So I don't remember the platform. Maybe it's on Netflix or some other platform. You can Google it. So you can go through that series also, just to learn the things in a fun way. Okay. So with this, I would stop, and I would wish you all the best for your exams. Then again, I would emphasize that this course is not to pass the exams. It's just what do you say, a foundation. This course is just a foundation of how you have to continue your research. So please keep on remembering these lessons that I have given you. Keep on updating yourself, whatever is relevant to publication ethics. So whatever was relevant 10 years back may have been updated now. Whatever is relevant today may be updated tomorrow. So be in touch with the real world and responsibly conduct your research. Even if it's a small piece, but it should be an honest piece of work. Okay. Thank you so much. All the best. So does anybody have any questions? And yeah, I'm always available on the email. You have my email, smir@iul.ac.in. Okay. My phone number is 9198999198990380. 91980380. That's my phone number. My email ID is smir@iul.ac.in. So throughout your journey, today, tomorrow, 4 years from now, whenever you think that you need help, you please come, right? So I'm always accessible. I may take some time to respond. I may not respond immediately, but I will respond. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. इनको ऑफ करा दीजिए. Suman, tell the gentleman to switch it off. So yeah, just a second. आप questions mail भी कर सकते हैं. Okay. So whenever you have a question, probably you are not studying continuously right now. Whenever you have a question, write to me. I will respond. Okay. And good luck for your exams.
मैम कब है एग्जाम?
I think by end of January होना चाहिए जब भी कोर्स फिनिश हो. हाँ, so फर्स्ट वीक में हो जाएगा. फरवरी तक हो जाता है. जनवरी. ओके. हाँ जी बताइए. यार इनका तो होता है बट वो आपको इसमें अगर आप अपने लिए प्रोफाइल के लिए लिखना चाहते हैं तो उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. You should start with Indian knowledge system. नहीं मेरा पोर्शन कंप्लीट हो गया. मेरा पोर्शन कंप्लीट हो गया. ये आती का सेकेंड यूनिट और जीरो ये आती का सेकेंड यूनिट और कल से फोर्थ यूनिट.